Hello everyone, welcome to my corner of the world. Now I have a need for an anniversary card, and so I thought I would switch my camera on and share that with you as I work my way through. Unusually for me, I have decided to do a square card here in the UK. You don't have to pay extra postage for an unusual shape card like you have to in the US. There's still a restriction on the thickness of it, but this is going to be, that's not going to be this thick. So I have chosen to do this square. Now I bought some 6x6 envelopes at a craft fair recently, and on measuring them, they are exactly 6x6, exactly 6 inches by 6 inches, or if you're into the metric, 15.3 by 15.3. So it means that I can't have a card that is exactly 6 inches square. So I have cut this slightly smaller so it fits into the envelope. So this is actually 5 7/8 by 5 7/8, and so scoring it in the middle, let's see what we've got. So it's actually like 11 3/4 scored at 5 7/8, and then I've got a layer here which is about 1/4 of an inch smaller, giving me an 1/8 inch border. So that's my starting point. And I'm going to use some different media for me, as if you like, it's going to be like mixed media. So I am going to do some stenciling. So I've got this lovely little splodgy stencil, and if you follow me, you know I love splodges on my stamps. So splodges on my cards, I think that would be really good. So let's just go ahead and just see if I can hold that down on there. Now I wanted to use a pale blue, and the pale blue I found was this Distress Oxide. Now these are not especially good for stamping. They're not designed to be, but for masks, using masks or stencils, they're brilliant. They really do smooth out well. So I've got a little brush here, and I'm not going to stencil over the whole thing. I'm going to just stencil in various places. Now I need to just get a little bit of paper just to dab off any blotches. There we go. So again, I'm just going to work through, and I'm just going to do a few splodges, and I'm not going to necessarily do them all the same depth of colour. So oops, we've got a little movement here, Houston. Okay, so and the reason I'm just dotting on the piece of scratch paper here is just to make sure I take off any sort of blobs of ink that will be sort of unsightly. So I think that's about as far as I want to go. I don't want to put too much else in there at this time, and we'll see where we go from here. So let's have a look. Big reveal. Ta-da! Okay. I like that. That's going to work for me. So there's our starting point, because we got a lot of white going on here. So I'm going to pop this on a dark matte, which hopefully should give you a little bit more contrast. Right, so the other thing that I wanted to do was to use some die cuts. So I've cut out one of these. It's just a shape, I guess. Now I know that this is a retired Stampin' Up one, but it's called Chic Dies, And it's got this lovely thing, but there's lots of die sets out there that's got those kinds of oh, big head sinned, not my camera, sort of nice sort of I don't know, it reminds me of like really open weave sackcloth. And I also thought that we could use some of these, and this is another die set which I have in my stash called Thoughtful Wishes. But again, there's lots of different ones that you could use to sort of give you like a decorative stem. So I'm going to share a little technique with you now that I kind of tripped over. Now, I went and bought some of this at a craft shop that I tripped across since I've been back in the UK. And it's a shimmer spray, and I thought that I could sort of spray over my card, and I could do that. But when I tried it, it didn't give me like a nice even spray. It gave me some big, some fine dots and some bigger blobs and stuff like that, which I wasn't actually looking for at the time. However, it occurred to me that I could use this on my with a brush. So I have got a little silicone mat here, and I think what I want to do is I think what I'm going to do first is to stick two of these together. So, ooh, lively. So I cut two out to make them a little bit more robust, but I've only got one of the these. As I say, I was kind of thinking the design through in my head before rather than design and make it up and make it, you know, actually do it and design it on the go. So this is all about thoughts. So if I'm a bit stuttery along the way, it's because the design is unfolding as we speak based on some ideas that I had. Right, so we're just going to stick two of these together like that. And because I've used liquid, it means that I can just use my fingers to kind of slide the pieces over on one another so that they, hopefully I'm in screen here, so that they line up, and we don't get doubles, but we get the extra thickness that we're looking for. So there we go, those two, you just need to move over there, dearie. There you go. This one's a little out of kilter there. Right. Okay, so that will give me that. So back to my idea, because I've just had another idea with this. So as I say, this is like a shimmer spray, and it says to give it a good shake, so let's follow the rules. And then I'm just going to spray some onto a block and just get a brush. Any old brush. Now, I found when I was playing with this idea before that you can, you don't have to sacrifice the brush to the technique, that you can just rinse it out and use it again. So we're just, as you can see, splodging it over. Because I'm working on a silicone mat, you can always use a bit of paper. But yeah, because I'm working on a silicone mat, I'm not freaking out about the mess. So now if you have like a pen-based shimmer like Wink of Stella, that will work, but this is, if you like, an alternative. One of the things that when I moved back to the UK, I decided that I would start experimenting with other products. And so, if you like, this is me. And partly because this didn't really do what I envisaged, this paint, this spray didn't actually do what I envisaged it would do, giving me like a light sort of gossamer effect. I didn't want to waste it, and so this actually is working for me. So let's just gently pick that up. It's going to need to dry for a while, but if I can just bring it up to the camera, I'm hoping that you might be able to see this lovely rich shimmer. So that's that. So we're just going to set that aside to dry before we go any further. Now, the other thought that I just had was that this, if I lay it down on the piece that I've just done here, it's going to look a bit lost. So what I thought was that we could use some of the blue. And what did I do? I know I had a piece of scratch paper somewhere. It's underneath? Nope. Oh, look, there it is. It'll bite me on the elbow if I'm not careful. So I'm going to pop that there. And then I'm going to get my pen. But I got one of these out to try this, because I've seen people use these with this ink, and see if that's works. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? See, I told you I would be experimenting with other things. For those who haven't really, or just finding me for the first time, I was a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the US for nearly 15 years, and I very much focused on their products. This will work as well, look, see. And when I retired as a demonstrator over there, I thought, well, what would I want to do when I come back to the UK? And I thought, well, I'm going to use the opportunity to experiment with products that I hadn't come across before. And so while my supplies were in transit on a ship on the ocean, I kind of went and bought some bits and pieces so that I could play with my paper and my inks in the meantime. And these are some of the things that I came across. So I'm combining those with my Stampin' Up! Stuff, because that's all arrived now. And there. Well, that looks quite nice. Let's now go and put some sparkle on it, because those of you who follow me know that Cindy loves sparkle. There we go. Try and do a thinner coat on this. So as I say, this will just rinse off of the brush and the block, whatever it is that you use to put it on. Just check that it doesn't sort of damage it first. I think it's kind of an alcohol based or spirit based, because it does dry quite quickly. There. Okay, so there's my, yes, I think that's going to go quite nicely. So both of those need to go and dry for a few moments. So those are another of my little techniques that I'm sharing today. So I've just got this cloth. Let me see, I'll show you. I've got a little pot here and some water. Ooh, so let's just put some water in the pot. There we go. And like that. And then I can just wipe it off with a fibre cloth here. Now I did find that the bristles were a bit stiff once they dried, but once I'd give them like a little zhoosh there, they came back to normal. So there, as I say, that's one of my little techniques. So we've done masking, and we've done some die cutting, and we've done some painting with shimmer spray. Right, let's clear the decks. So what do we want to do next? So we've got the card, we've got this. So this I think is going to go on, and then I'm going to put this on as well. And I've got some nice ribbon. Look at that, some nice with silver. I think that might be nice on there. And we need a greeting. We need a greeting. Okay, now I'm thinking I need to do a bit more on this piece here. So I've got the stamp from this set that coordinates nicely, and I'm going to use the same ink to keep it all sort of, so it's not too wild in colour combinations. And I've lost my bit of paper again, there it is. And as I say, this ink is not designed to stamp with, but you can. So let's give it a go. You can see it's got a very sort of chalky appearance, which is quite nice. So let's put like there maybe. And if this is going to go about here, maybe I can put one coming out there. Maybe I'll stamp it off and give it a bit of a lighter appearance. Oh yes, I think I prefer that to that, but never mind. Okay, right, so there we got some stamping off technique using second generation. All right, so gosh, this card is full of little techniques, isn't it? So let's go ahead and put some ribbon on. Now, I don't put ribbon all the way round, partly because of, you know, why put ribbon where it won't be seen? So that's a bit of my sort of Scottish heritage coming out. I was a bit on, you know, careful, don't like waste. But also, I kind of got into the habit of doing this when I lived in the US, because it was weight and bulk, and I I wanted to sort of cut down as much as possible on and how much weight, because a lot of my cards were being sent internationally to family and friends back here in the UK. So I'm going to continue doing this technique because I'll be now sending cards back to friends in the US. So now, right, so I'll need to be equally as careful. So now somehow we need a greeting. So let me have a little think. I'm just going to pop that on there. And I'm thinking maybe a bit of, I could do the corners just a tiny bit, just to take it off a little. So there, and I'm wondering whether to put a little bit of shadow in, just a tiny bit of ink. Let's do that, just a tiny bit of ink around the edge. It's not showing up a huge amount, but I think once it actually goes on the card, it will show sort of a bit of, just a bit of a difference. Yeah, see, it just gives it an edge against the white card. Okay, what else can we do now? We still need that greeting, don't we? We still need that greeting. And I need to put something inside my card. I don't put words in my cards. I tend to just sort of put a stamped image, and then, you know, I've got plenty of room then to write whatever it is I want to write. My to you, love from me. If I haven't got an awful lot I want to write, then I can just write big. No. And if I got a lot to say, I can write small. So I think that just gives a little bit of something. There we go, that's that. So there's that. So now a greeting. I've got this really pretty happy anniversary, and it is so old. It's got whiskers on it. So I'm going to use that one. Don't know where it's come from, but as I say, it's very old. Now, I thought I could do some heat embossing, but I don't have any card that colour. So rather than, you know, use something again else, I got my ink again and I just coloured up some card, and I just, you can see, I just made some card up that was going to be the right colour, and solve my problem. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to just I need to dry that ink now. Hold on a second. Let's use this. Now this ink does stay wet longer. And so we don't, if I'm going to emboss this, I don't want wet ink underneath because everything will stick to it. So I'm going to do that to start with. And then I'm going to get my little embossing buddy here. And I'm going to just put this on here, and that will just hopefully take the dampness off. Okay, let's see if that's going to work. I've got a little brush here to take the rest of the dust off. Ooh, isn't that great? Look at that. Ooh, smashing brush that is. Now then, we're going to use some Versamark. And we've got some silver embossing powder here. So tap it around, tap it off. Oh, lovely. Look, that hasn't stuck where it shouldn't. So we obviously did good with drying off that ink. And so we just put a bit more heat on this. And I'm going to let that set for a few moments. Right, so I think the time has come for me to commit this to come together. So I'm just pulling together some. Now then, I've got this. I think that's going to be a lovely punch. Again, very, very old Stampin' Up punch. I didn't always keep much of my Stampin' Up, the retired stuff, because you know, I didn't really have the room, but there were one or two pieces always that I just loved, and I couldn't bring myself to sell them or, you know, whatever. Right, so we've got some. Now, if I had thought properly, I could have put this on some adhesive sheet. Don't you find I say that a lot when I'm doing stuff off the cuff? I should have done that. I should have done that, but I didn't, so we just live with the consequences. I think the important thing is maybe to just catch the tips of things so that they don't lift. We just do some dots around and hope for the best. Right, so if I pop that under there, there we go, let's go like that. And then where did my little flower go? So I'm going to pop that maybe like that. So here we go with the dits and the dots of adhesive again. So I do prefer to use liquid glue, but you can use whatever works for you. I think I like to use the liquid because I feel I got a bit more control over it. You don't have to squeeze it too hard. Let's take it up a bit. So this pastel finish is very unlike me. I like sparkle, but I also like colour. So using this is this sort of colourways is sort of very much outside of my usual style, but I'm liking it. I thought it would be nice to do sort of this sort of idea for an anniversary card. So we got a little bow. I've got videos on how I tie my bows, but I just use the rabbit ear. Right, let's do that. And let's do that. Let's do that way. So we need to get some. Now what I am going to do is on this greeting, I am going to put the these sticky pads, top and bottom. I will put one in the middle, but then I'm going to do it so that it straddles the ribbon and holds it all in place. Like that. And get one of our old friends, the glue dots, out here. And pop that there. Maybe just sort of tuck that underneath like that. Now let's get this stuck down. I'm going to use some of this. Let's get those scissors out of the way. I'm going to use some of this. Again, it was a find in the local craft shop. I thought I could give it a go, but you can use double-sided sticky pads, double-sided tape. You can use your liquid glue, whatever you've got and whatever you prefer and works for you, because at the end of the day, this is all supposed to be fun. And if you're stressing, am I using the right adhesive? See, I got that too long, but it's not going to be wasted because I'll pop it, that bit in the middle again. There we go. So that's that. So we just get that off. So you don't need to put this thicker stuff down. I just thought, again, it would just give it a bit more presence. There we go. Now then, I got one more thing I want to do, because I'm feeling that stem is kind of hanging out there with nothing to ground it. So I've got this tiny little butterfly that we can stick on here, and that kind of will pull that, ground that in a way. And then I thought It's one of these. I mean, we've got lots of sparkle, but this is going to be our sort of our final thing. Did I not pick up? Oh, what a nana. We didn't pick up a dot. Don't stick very well without some glue on it, Sind. So look, let's stick that there like that. Okay, I am going to call that a wrap. I'm loving it. I really like it. As I say, it's well out of my style. I hope you like it too. If you do, perhaps you'll go ahead, give me a thumbs up. And I'd like to thank you so very much for choosing to spend some time with me today while I work through my ideas. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.